All stand, place the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I welcome you all today to the Vermilion County Commissioners meeting. First we have is the roll call. Brett Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yocum is present. Approval of minutes.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims.
Motion to approve claims.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on this? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of payroll.
Making a motion to approve payroll.
Second motion to approve payroll.
Any discussion on payroll? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Economic development update. Amanda Heber.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have just a quick update from the last few weeks as far as the I-74 corridor project. So I have connected Lana with Joink and Centerpoint. Obviously, we want to try and get as many utilities involved with all of that project as we possibly can. I think she's got contact with them and working towards that. And then I had a regional lunch with Mike Marin, who is the CEO of Vermilion Advantage out of Danville, Illinois. And then the new Lido up in Warren County, her name is Kara Doolin. So just getting those area partners on board as well. They're in support of the project, connected them with Lana as well. So that way, obviously, like Lana has explained with this project, the more support you get, especially regionally and so on in those areas that can be impacted, the better that it could be. So moving on, as far as kind of some community involvement, of course, was the Vermilion County Fair a couple weeks ago. We had a table set up there asking for some feedback, letting to know what people's Vermilion reasons are of being in the county and what they think of the county now and what they'd like to see in the future. We got a couple of those back, but it was a great week. It was a very hot one. Of course, as a family, we're extremely involved. The other thing that was a lot of fun is this year Morgan, the extension educator for the youth, had a new celebrity showmanship. I have to proudly say that I did win that, but it was, oh my goodness, it was hot, and it had been, I figured it out that it was 30 years that I showed sheep and 25 years since I showed cattle, and I haven't had a hold of our own livestock for a good 5 years. My kids always did all of it, and it definitely rekindles the respect for those kids of the work that they put in and in the heat of being in that show ring and putting forth their efforts out there. So it was a lot of fun. I encourage anyone in the county, whether you're an office holder or anything of that sort, this is going to be an ongoing fundraiser for the 4-H program within the county, and I would highly recommend that any of you participate in that. It was a lot of fun. Just make sure you take a little bottle of water with you, because it was quite warm that afternoon. And then also, it was great to meet Senator Deary. He was here that week. He held a meeting in my office. It was nice to meet him and be involved with the parade in the community and just see all of the activities that happen.
He's been getting involved in the I-74 project too, isn't he?
Yes, he has. Okay, next up, this past Saturday, it was something new. We just kind of put together on a whim. It was a museum trail. So for the first time in the county, all of the museums were open on one day. So it was the Old Jail Museum, the Coal and Railroad Museum, the Wine Museum, and of course the Ernie Powell Museum in Dana. So all of them were open all day on Saturday. It was a lot of fun for people to get out and see the museums and what our county has to offer. So in talking to those museum boards, we're looking at maybe doing something once a quarter with that. So June, September, December, and March, where we would pick a day once a quarter in a month on a Saturday where all of those museums would be open. Hopefully to involve maybe the schools or something of that sort to be able to get the kids to get out there and really see what the history is of our county and what we have available here locally, where they don't have to feel like they have to go to Terre Haute or Indianapolis or someplace like that to really see what we have here. The last thing, as far as what has been happening over the last month, is that I did complete the 101 course for the CBDG grant writing. So I've taken the first course, took the test last week. I should find out this week if I pass it. If so, then it moves on to the next course. There's a 201, a 301, and a 401 at the end of all of those courses. Then you're officially a certified grant writer with OCRA. So it is quite the process. Hopefully by the end of the year I will have that complete, but definitely getting there. As far as the to come, things that are working on, with the museum trail really being embraced, we're also going to do a festival trail. So that's something that'll go from now through October, of encouraging people to visit the county multiple times and visit all of our festivals. We're a county that has several of those from top to bottom. So Perrysville is the first weekend on August 3rd. Then we have Dana on August 9th and 10th. Clinton with the Little Italy. This year, the way the calendar falls, is going to be the end of August, beginning of September. For the way Labor Day falls, will be August 30th to September 2nd. Then Newport, of course, that first full weekend in October for the hill climb.
You left Wabash River Runoff there the weekend before. It's in the festivals for the state of Indiana now.
Where does that one fall? I'm sorry.
The weekend before Labor Day.
Okay, we'll put that one in there as well. But working with RJL, we had the museum trail map made. They're also going to do one for all of the festivals to encourage people to come and visit. The EDC will have a table set up at all of those festivals, again asking for people's feedback on the county and their Vermillion reasons of why you're here. The nice thing with that, on the partnership grant that we did with Duke Energy, that is to help pay for any conferences that I attend. It's the actual admission into that conference, and then any community support. So with that, they were excited about helping support these trails of the tourism sector and the quality of life portion. So with that, we were able to do some giveaways at the tables and encourage people to attend. Next up is going to be the next conference I'll be at is going to be August 14th and 15th. It's the next IEDA conference in Indianapolis. Just like every other month, keep in mind we do have office hours with ISBDC. That's for July. It's going to be July 9th with Jared, and then July 22nd with Courtney. And then in the infant stages, I've already talked to Ivy Tech and I've talked to the ISBDC. We're going to start working on a pathway to entrepreneurship. So obviously, you know, we're always looking for attractions and wanting businesses to come in here, but we also want to cultivate within too. So we see a lot of our youth that once they go out to college, they move away. They don't always come back, and we want to encourage them to come back here and stay here and invest here. And so a brainstorm, like I said, is all in the infant stages, but just letting you know, starting down that path of entrepreneurship, all the way down from the elementary level of maybe Lemonade Day, all the way through the school corporation, into that high school phases, of encouraging them to really embrace entrepreneurship. That, you know, we can work with the CTE classes, things of that sort, and kind of see what we can do in partnering with the schools of being able to encourage those people to be an entrepreneur here within our county. I know that was a lot, but I was trying to get through it because I know you have a lot on your agenda.
Do y'all have any questions for economic development?
No. We'll talk a little bit later about that, like some of your ideas there.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next is public comment. The rules today are, if you want to speak, the mic is up here. You have to come up here and identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Please reserve the 3 minutes. Don't go over and over, but you have a right to speak. So today there will be a public comment starting now. At the end of the meeting, there will also be another time for public comment. So if you have anything you want to say today in public comment and you want to leave, it's best to say it now, because I think today is going to take some time to, if you want to wait till later, it's up to you, but it's going to take a while to get there. So if you all have something to say today for something to make a statement, that's totally fine.
I'm Nedra Tilley. I'm from Newport. I work part-time in the clerk's office on voter registration. You know,
So you work here part-time, right?
part-time, yes. Which I use the new time clock. I first want to give kudos to Kylie because I know that she is working hard to try to get everything in the system, and I do appreciate that. But you know, over the past 4 weeks, I've heard many comments from employees and elected office holders, and by far not positive comments. And as far as you as commissioner, how is or are you utilizing the time clock in your locations? That's a question I have. And when I put this together, there's questions that I answered myself. And the next one is, why would something be implemented when it is not totally ready? And to me, the system wasn't ready. I mean, but the reason being, a primary happened. We're going to have a new auditor and possibly people. So to me, it was a project of the auditor's office, and we're going to make it happen. But like I say, I don't know if you as commissioners have talked to people, but like I say, there's not a lot of positives about the
When you say
system.
that, many local officials, I assume you know how many came out for or against it. So if you're making that statement, can you clarify how many came out and who they were in support of not having this?
I'm against it.
Well, okay, I mean,
Well, and-
she brought the, I'm
And I
asking
know
her.
there's
Yeah.
others that have.
Yeah, I mean, I have, that's okay. I have talked to the prosecutor.
Okay.
I've talked to the assessor. Like I say, I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of people, but, you know, you hear things throughout the courthouse. And some of those are not utilizing the system yet. Now, maybe they've not been presented the system, and I understand we're trying to get this system out because now we're going to have a new auditor. But is the new auditor going to want this system? And to me, we spend a lot of money on this system that, and I don't know how long it's been in the making, but to me, we've spent a lot of taxpayer dollars to get this implemented. And of those who might be using the new system, are they utilizing every aspect of what it is meant to provide? And I know that they're not. They can go in and they can put, in October, I want my vacation. And I've heard the auditor's office doesn't need to know when I'm taking my vacation. As commissioners, I have heard your comments on comp hours accumulated by employees. Is this system adding more hours to comp hours? I believe it will. I believe you've got people that give time, that don't put their time down. But to me, you have taken the trust factor. Do you not trust them with the old system? I think people will turn in time that they normally would not by punching the clock. And for the total cost for this system, the initial cost, the yearly maintenance costs, and my understanding, laptops had to be, or was purchased. Is this really working? Taxpayer dollars, is it being spent wisely? I can't take credit for the next two questions. Why would you implement mid-year? I answered that. You have someone that it will be leaving at the beginning of the year. It was a project of theirs, and so it's going to be implemented, or they're trying to implement it by year end. I understand that, but is it right? I think consideration should have been taken as far as when the auditor's position was going to come up on the ballot. If Brenda was in her second year and this system was coming out, it would have been, to me, that would have been far better, because it would have gave them 3 years. But the second, we're in our last few months. Is the system working for us, or are we working for the system? And I guess the question I have, within the contract or purchase agreement of the system, was there a clause stating a trial period to test the system?
Nedra, we have to start this. We said 3 minutes. I'm not trying to,
Okay.
under public comment, we're limited
That's
everybody
fine.
to 3 minutes.
At last, to me, it comes down to trust of your employees, and you need to trust your employees to do what they will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to put that on discussion for later. Anybody?
Would you like me to respond now?
It's just public comment.
Yeah, we'll just, well, I think what we ought
Do
to
you want
have
me
is,
to put it on the agenda for another time?
that's what I'm probably recommend.
I'm not so sure this is a
Yeah.
public discussion item.
'Cause that should have been
This
put
is
on the
really
agenda for a special.
departmental item,
Yeah,
so.
it's too much to,
Well,
too
it is,
dis-
but I'm using the system, and it's not, to me,
That's why I say it's a
It's too much to
departmental
discuss
issue, not
today.
a.
It should have been put on agenda for more time. But we will entertain it, we'll figure out something to do. We will discuss that. Thank
right.
you very much.
thank you.
We'll discuss it. 3 minutes, sir.
Clayton Sanquinetti. I am a Vermillion County lifelong resident, kind of hobby farmer. I own over a dozen properties in Vermillion County. I put my life into Vermillion County trying to fix things up, and I do a lot for the community. And I have a few things here about the CCS they're wanting to store out there at the Peabody Mine. A couple things to think about is that our pore space is not farm ground. Our farm ground is surface area. They are willing to pay by the acre, not by volume. If they are so smart on pore space, they should know how much volume a property shall hold. Our homes are not farm ground and are assessed to an amount way higher than farm ground. They should have to pay residents in pore space a large percentage of appraised value. The so-called 140 or 120 or 160 or whatever it is today is not right. The compensation is just unjust and unfair. The laws taking away liabilities is also unjust and unfair. If the commissioners allow this to happen, are they going to assume liabilities? As far as paving the mine roads out there in Peabody, the roads constantly settle. The pavement will not hold up and will need lots of maintenance to upkeep. Is the county going to maintain these roads? Can the county afford the maintenance on these roads? Another however many miles of pavement? Because 25 years ago, they paved the road from Trinity to Hogslats. And they paved it up, it looked like a super highway. In 3 years, that road crumbled to nothing. And when it crumbled to nothing, it was the worst road to drive down for years because they had all these gigantic craters they couldn't do nothing with. They'd fixed one and another one came back. So the amount of road maintenance to them roads that they're proposing to pave is extremely high. So are we going to take that money and just throw it out the window? I'll let you have the other minute and 30 seconds back. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please identify yourself.
Pardon me?
Please identify yourself.
My name is Susan Strokos, and I'm an affected resident by Wabash Valley Resources. I just wanted to ask a couple questions of you. Have you looked at the government website for their bipartisan infrastructure bill funding and their Inflation Reduction Act funding? Because it specifically says that the DOE requires a community benefits package as part of this funding opportunity. And we believe that Wabash Valley Resources is part of that, even though I feel they have been very disingenuous with us, and that has been from the get-go. They say that the government does not require them to do a community benefits package for their project. But that's not what we were asking. We were asking, do you need it for your funding? Have you guys looked into this? There are requirements, and it specifically says engaging in meaningful community engagement. That is not getting signatures from the commissioners to give the appearance that you have engaged with us. I'm sorry for this motion. I'm not a professional speaker. I am just a farmer who is being trampled upon by your company. And I do not mean to be disrespectful, but this is our lives. These are our children. This is all we have. We are not rich. We give back to our community and we care for one another. And I know you guys care for us. And I appreciate you listening to us first before listening to them and having to make a decision. One more thing I do want to bring up. Community benefits. It's not about roads. It is about our safety, our children's safety. And in those benefits, you could request that they put in safety, monitoring, those types of things, not to the fire department, but for us out in that community. You can require them to pay for that. I know you have experts, and I know you said you will come to find this is safe. We have spoke with experts, so I respectfully ask, do you think the USGS is an expert? Because we reached out to them, and they were so grateful that they emailed us back, because one of their main statements was, we all share your concerns for the induced seismic activity in settings of geological sequestrations. My question is, in a community benefits package, the USGS provided oversight for ADM. ADM paid for a 13-system monitoring network to look at microquakes. Anything, even the micro, even if it says negative 0.5, were recorded because they can predict larger quakes. But the EPA permit for this company, on page 15 and 16, they do not have to report anything under 3.5. 3.5. I ask you, the USGS said they have not been invited. And if this is going to be the largest in the United States, why would you not invite them? They are independent. They could oversee this away from the company. This company has been here for 8 years. They came here 2016. They spent all their time over at the State House getting laws to protect them, getting laws to trample on us, and now they are coming to you because they need your signatures. That is not justice. I'm so sorry. That is not justice. We deserve better. If this is so great, they would agree to it. If they're out to prove that this technology is wonderful, they would agree to every safety measure that we would ask for in this community benefits package. I hope you take that into consideration because you guys are in charge. They've tied your hand in many ways, but they haven't in this one. Don't let them use your signature to send to the government to act like there's been community involvement, because we have not had one meeting. They promised us meetings over and over, and they canceled the last one that was set up by Vermilion County. And nothing, not even the president of the Universal Town Board was even contacted about the community benefits package. I'm asking you don't sign it. I'm asking you, make them work with us if they think this is so grand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Doug Martin, the town board president of Universal. I don't have a lot to say because I think there's a lot that needs to be discussed here. This community agreement with Wabash Valley Resources is something, in my opinion, should be talked about way in the future. I don't know why we're talking about it now when there's still hoops that these people have to jump through. So my guess is there's some kind of federal requirement that they have to click a box for in order to prove to the government that they're doing some kind of community outreach. So this is a discussion that needs to take place way in the future, and it needs to take place in public hearings, public meetings, whatever, public comments, and so that we know in detail what is going on. $500,000 for the fire department. I don't know where that figure comes from. I don't know what kind of training is involved. We need to look at specific details about what that training means, how much it's going to cost, who's going to do it, all these things. Universal just put in a well a few years ago, cost $1.2 million. So if something goes wrong with our water system, how much money is that going to take? How much are the feds willing to give? I remember at the EPA meeting there was a discussion that so much money was set aside in case there were accidents to pay the communities. I've never seen any of that in writing. This stuff needs to be in writing. We need the EPA out here talking to us. We need the state out here talking to us to have a legitimate discussion, because I don't trust the state and I don't trust the feds. So we need to know what is going on in great detail and have a public discussion to talk about all this stuff so we have a better idea what this benefit package means. And I think it's something that needs to take place way in the future, not today. Why are we even discussing this at this point? That is my question. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name's Donald Bohannon. I've lived in Universal all my life. I'll follow up with the signatures Stu was talking about. Now, you guys are just three. Right here I have over 1,100 signatures. There's 1,900 in our group. So that's 3,000 people that do not want this. They don't want your money. They don't want you to give us nothing, because you've done bought your way all the way here.
Try to address your stuff to the commissioners.
Huh?
Try to address it to the commissioners.
Well, they're standing right behind me. I feel like my back getting stabbed. But anyway, we don't want it, and I'm speaking for me and the 3,000 people that are in here that we wish you guys would vote no. I mean, they've done bought their way all the way to this point.
Can you send us a copy of those signatures?
Huh?
Could you send us a copy of those signatures?
Sure can.
Be nice to have.
She got them all. But
Okay.
And appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Doug Bohannon, Universal, 66-year-old, been there all my life. I just have one thing I want you to listen to, and it's going to come up. And I don't know what planet these people live on, but it says, Wabash Valley Resources recognizes the community's past and continuing support of the project. I don't know what planet they live on, but I don't know anybody that agrees with this project. I mean, I've seen no, yay, Wabash Valley Resources. It's all no Wabash Valley Resources. I don't know of any groups that are pro Wabash Valley Resources. So this is falsified. I mean, there's no proof that this has even happened. So this really needs to be taken into consideration as a falsified document, in my opinion. So think about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Commissioners.
You're on the agenda to speak.
My name's Mark Usselman. I live in Centenary,
Okay.
north of the proposed well. I called in our last meeting that we ought to get together and come in front of you commissioners. There's $5 million that they're talking about presenting you over a period of time. We wanted to see what your position, if your position is the same, or is the $5 million going to make you change that? I didn't get a chance to read it that good. I got it just before I come up here. I have another question. I've got a lot of questions. I can't get them sorted. How did we become affiliated with Wabash Valley Resources? Did they approach you and ask if you wanted to be a part of that? That's something that I don't know. And then Wabash Valley Resources comes up with this proposal. Now, one thing you got to look at, and it really doesn't make any difference in day-to-day life for big business. I'm 75 years old. I got a college education, but I chose to stay where I grew up. And the reason I did is because now it's showing up. We have drugs. We still have a few crazies here and there. But we've got a community that I can walk down the road and not worry about somebody shooting me. We've got a good police force. So this is another thing. Going like we are now. I take pride in my country. I take pride in the people I live around. But there's something wrong here with this project where your governor says this is a done deal. The commissioner at Vigo County said this is a done deal, boys. Boys, this is the way it's going to be. I voted for 50 years. Supported every elected official that come in this county. And it don't mean shit today. We don't. I'm not against clean air. You'd have to be a damn fool to be against something like this. But this is thrown together. They put it on Peabody ground because they thought it was useless. Have you guys traveled through Peabody and see the beautiful homes out there now that people's building? There's a good farm out there. My family farms out there and they've made it a pretty good farm. Now, is this going to hinder that? Probably not. But this is just not going to be for this station down the road here. You'll see the whole Midwest bringing surplus in here. That's why they want the roads better. When wintertime comes and everybody's generating stations are really pumping out, they won't be able to get in and out of there. Do we really want that? I don't want it. And one other question that was never mentioned. I don't know the gentleman's name from Clinton, but he's a boy that studied coal mines in this area. And he's got a portfolio that's a foot tall that lists every mine that his father and everybody he talked to about.
Give it 30 seconds. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to keep track of the time. You're on the agenda.
I got 30 seconds?
Yeah. You're on the agenda to speak later, so that's why I'm questioning why.
Well, I'll set it off here and maybe speak later.
Yeah,
Is
that'd
that
be fine.
fair?
I just want to make sure you knew you was on there to speak
But the
later.
main thing about me asking to come up and be in front of you commissioners, I didn't want to be a part of slapping you in the face. If $5 million is a lot of money. If I read it right. Are you gonna stand at your word that you're not for this? That's a big question. And then we can go on and do like we've been doing, struggling, trying to get information. But I will say one thing. They knew we were in the area against it. Why in the hell didn't they call us and sit down and have a meeting?
Can you
Oh, it
continue?
would've-
I have to stop you, but can you continue your conversation under the agenda? Bring it back up.
Oh, I'll
another
bring
time.
it back.
Okay. I just want to keep track of time here. Thank you, sir. Anybody else want 3 minutes beginning? You got 3 minutes in too. Remember, I set a time here so you can see it. I'm not making a judge, but I have
Okay.
to keep order.
Mine's kind of short anyway. I think we'll be good. Hi, Cindy Pyle, Vermillion County resident. First of all, I'd like to point out that Nolan Gupta from Wabash Valley Resources said at the 841 operator meeting in August of 2023 that they wanted to have weeks and weeks, if not months, of meetings with the community. Well, that was the last time we saw them. They've had 11 months to work with the community, and they've chosen not to. And yet they come up here 2 weeks ago and tried their backdoor approach to get you guys to slide in this community benefits package and get signatures. That is not just, and it's not fair. What does Vermillion County get out of this company? I mean, the plant's not in here, they're not paying county taxes, right? The employees aren't in this county. So what are we getting? We're getting the shaft, the dump, or whatever it is you want to call it, because it's not a well. I would just like to ask you to please table this proposal of this community benefits package until the community can have a say-so. Because I think that's very important. And also, I think they mentioned a couple weeks ago that the two benefit packages were the same. Just off the top of my head, from what I read last night, I don't think they are. So I would suggest really reading the Vigo County package versus Vermillion, because I don't think it is exactly the same. And I want to thank you all for listening and actually letting your community put their voice in. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Remember, you can make your comments at the end if you want to.
I'm Scott Noble, concerned citizen. I just have one question. The commissioners told the Concerned Citizens Group that you have adopted a resolution against this. And I think I've heard all three of you state publicly that you are against this project. If you're against this project, why are we even entertaining signing this commercial or this benefits package? You know, this is going to be another step to get them closer to finishing this project, to starting this project. Why are we even entertaining it if we're against it? It seems like a waste of time. You know, let's say no, we're against this. If we are, we are. Let's stand up and say that. Let's don't keep playing tap dance and doing whatever we're doing. Let's say either come out, we're against it, we're not going to sign this, and this is a community benefits package. It should be shared with the community. There should be town halls held, and these are the people that should be doing it. You know, they can say whatever they want, but they should have to come out and deal with the people directly. Not just come to you guys and get your signature, make everything look good, because the three of you just alone, signatures, don't represent everybody in this room. There's a lot of people against this. I think we need to spend a lot more time looking into it and share it more with the community. Thank you.
Anybody else? 3 minutes.
I still have my name's Mike Kelly. I live in Clinton. I just want to bring up the fact that there's not been any guarantees on protecting the aquifer. I want to know who's responsible if there's a problem with the aquifer getting contaminated by the CO2. The CO2, in my opinion, should just be released to the air. When you concentrate something down into something, a liquid form and pump it down into below the aquifer that you're providing drinking water to the communities all around here. They all get from the aquifer. They're all retained from there. And I didn't see any guarantees of not being a hazard as to contaminating the aquifer. That's my main concern that I worry about. Because once it's contaminated and they leave, what do we do then? I think there's only one way to actually protect our aquifer, and that's to not drill the holes and to not pump this down there. There are other ways of disposing of carbon, and the atmosphere only has 0.04% anyway. That's nothing, and it hasn't increased in thousands of years according to core samples and the ice. I just don't see the risk of moving everyone out of the country or out of this area because they deliberately polluted, or indeliberately, or didn't do it deliberately, but it still leaked. It's still going to affect us. I don't see anybody protecting us. I don't see the Environmental Protection Agency, the Clean Air Act. I don't see any of that protecting us with this company, and this is a single company. They can divide it into pieces, but it's still one company that's going to benefit, and I don't think our community is going to benefit, and we should leave it alone. We should, unless they can come up with guarantees and be responsible for any accidents, injuries, or pollution they create. That's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're getting close to moving on here. Said if anybody else has a comment, Ian, you have 3 minutes at the end. And we have some other things we need to take care of first before we get on down the road on some of this. We have a leasing of the new backhoe, Mike Clyke. What do you guys comments on that? You got a deadline there, right, Brenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Caterpillar lease for the backhoe. I think it's Garage 2. Again, it was due last Thursday, I believe. So make a motion to approve that lease agreement.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on it? I think Mike Clyke's doing a good job managing the highway department. And he brings a lot of good information, and he's been a big asset to our county. So, with that being said, we have a second. We have discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion passed. Next, we have the CrowdStrike that we need to talk a little bit about. I don't know if you've contacted, talked to anybody about that, but I haven't had a phone call, talked to him out of Evansville about that, and it's no cost, is my understanding. Is that correct, Brenda? No cost. It's extra, or is it replacing something, isn't it, as far as a program for internet protection? Replacing. There's no cost involved in it. ES is recommending it. And Brenda, correct me in my statements if you want. ES is recommending it, correct? Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the CrowdStrike from the IoT.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion on this? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Measure pass.
Mr. Joker, can you turn up the volume? They say they can't hear you hardly back here.
I will move my mic back closer to it. I really respect the people being here today, and if you can't hear me, please raise your hand and tell me. It's not intentionally. But if you inform me, then I will make sure that happens. So I'm not aware unless you tell me. And it's not being disrespectful. Raise your hand and say, I can't hear you. So please do. We want to hear everything that goes on here. So is it from the officer, is it from the meeting online, or is it from people here?
It's from there, I guess. They said they couldn't hear you back
Okay.
very well, so I think they can now.
Good, good. Like I said, I apologize for that, but I'm not aware of what goes on. But please let us know. Moving on, I want to say a few things about the ambulance today. Yesterday we had a ribbon cutting, historical time in Vermillion County that Park County has agreed to oversee our ambulance our ambulance. There's no more division among county lines. I know most time in counties and especially in fire departments, and there's a certain degree of zone that they control, and that everybody's got to stay in their zone. And I think that this ambulance situation that we agreed with Bart County is taking away those boundaries. And it's like if they need to respond to Lyford, they usually have to call someone out of Rockville. Now someone from Clinton can just run across it and take care of it. So what the commissioners have came up with and the council's approved is a big asset to the county, to the community. Each person will receive $100 off on any ambulance call. And like I said, the availability of response across county lines, it's a state issue. And I talked to some people from the state yesterday, and they gave us high accolades of what we're doing here. And it's a common issue out throughout the state of turf. You know, we control this, and that's not what's best for the people. You know, whoever can service it. And so Vermillion County has moved forward, I think, in setting a standard for other communities, other counties to look at that. How do we look to better, not for our area, but how do we look better for the people in our community? So we currently will be paying them $45,800 a month. It might sound like a lot of money, but that's the exact contract we have with the existing service. We have bought 2 new ambulances at about $275. Mark O'Hara, would that be close? $275 to $300,000 each ambulance, correct? About in that.
$271 for one, $260 for the other.
Okay, so I'm pretty close. I did want to say that they do the ARP money on that. Is that, yeah? The ARP money funding came through close to $3 million, and something I wanted to see is something that came out of that money that will last beyond today. It's easy to throw money at stuff, but this is, I think, the ARP money to make a difference in our community, the response time with our ambulances, and I think has been a tremendous investment. So with that being said, we are looking at develop 2 new ambulance facilities. Clinton City came through. We didn't have a place to house the south one, and they agreed to rent us the facility, part of the facility of the Clinton Firehouse. It's a very nice facility, and so now that South Ambulance crew will be housed at Clinton Fire Department. They did a very favorable lease with us of $1,500 a month, and that includes utilities, and it's a very good setup. The other ambulance we are going to do, and that is not limiting us for future to go to a different source there, but right now that's our choice. We currently have a temporary site that's going in at Perrysville. Again, it's temporary. We have came up with the decision to use North Vermillion School Corporation. They gave us rights to a piece of property on the northwest corner of their property. It's right on 63. It's a no-brainer, and so we're right there next to the schools in case something happens. Also, response time is important because there's a viaduct right to the north, but they be able to get under the viaduct and get underneath the bridge in case of a railroad, and it won't hamper that. So Vermillion County is moving forward. We met, the ambulance committee met the other night and came up with some good input, and we're looking at possibly eventually having 2 new sites, but the north side is a priority right now, so we'll be working on that. And the other one, there's another possibility south at Fairview. They're right across from the high school. And I think it's really commendable to what we have decided and the people working with us to have 2 ambulance facilities next to our high schools and junior high schools with ready access to 63. So we're working on some things. We had these out in the plan. We put together, the council approved $600,000 for us to go this year to the READY grant program. We had anticipated we would get funding for at least probably the other $600,000 to fund these 2 new ambulance facilities. However, the READY grant program had went to a different type of agenda, and emergency response and stuff that was not in it. Britain is working on some stuff for some funding on the new facilities, and so we're moving in a very positive direction. Any of the commissioners have something to say about that real quick?
I would just like to give a thanks especially to Clinton City Fire Department, the Mayor of Clinton, for helping house that facility down there, and especially Perrysville Fire Department with Chief Lewis. They stepped up when we really needed a facility. Tony Jacobs Construction is working day and night up there getting that facility ready, so I just want to make sure we publicly thank them. Julie Lanzone has been a godsend from Park County, helping oversee a lot of this, so just thanks to all involved. When people work together, a lot of good things can happen. So,
when we approached this a year ago, last April, the partnering agreement. Looked like it was something that was, well, we were working on that. Going forward, though, I figured this with every, what,
Brett, can
just
you hear
primarily
Brett?
a
Can you
regional.
all hear Brett? I'm asking. Can you all hear Brett? Okay.
Primarily a regional system, and I figured that'd be a 10 years plus type arrangement by the time we would get through that. And it actually came to fruition July 1st, so way ahead of schedule, and that's unusual. It seems like everything else, even the no-brainer things, take 3 months, and I figured this would take a lot longer than that, and thank goodness instead of 10 years, it's now in place. So thank you for Park County and a lot of the hard work from Mark O'Hare and Julie Lazone and the commissioners from both and council from both Park and Vermilion County. So this is a very good thing for the county, and a little bit ahead of the curve now, but I'm sure we'll fall behind as time goes by. Well, way ahead actually. So yeah, guess we'll stay ahead. It's hard to make up 10 years, and I think we can do that.
So anyway, again, my thank yous to everyone involved to promote something that's for the good, and it's going to turn out very, very well. Okay. We've seen that.
I'd like to address one open issue before we get to WRV, because I'm afraid this will take some time. I'd like to make if we can jump ahead to an open issue with the appointment of Dr. Phil Harrison to the Board of Health. Michael Williams had been the administrator there for South Vermilion Schools, but he's moving out of county and resigned a couple weeks ago anyway, at some point. This would be a replacement in kind as far as the administration of school systems and qualifies for the Board of Health. So I'd like to make that nomination if somebody would second that.
I'll second the motion.
I think it's a very good choice.
That's an excellent choice.
He lives here in the county. I want to make sure you knew that. And very much involved in our school corporations. And from a professional standpoint, you need a certain amount of professional people on there, right, besides from the medical field?
You don't have to, but it's not. I'd like to.
Yeah.
What we've been trying to do is get a distribution of different professions inside the Board of Health within their framework anyway.
Call for a vote. All in favor? Phil
Aye.
Harrison?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passed. Next we have Wabash Valley Resources, Greg Zeller.
Thank you for having us on the agenda. I was here June 18th evening session, so at the risk of repeating myself, I'll kind of go through a little bit of the... I'm a mumbler too, so I will
pull that
try to
over
speak.
kind of closer to you.
Yeah.
These other ones kind of make it
All
look
right.
better.
It's red, is that good?
It's good.
All right. But at the risk of repeating myself, I'll go through a little bit. And I heard, it's not the same as Vigo County, which in structure it is, but each county can do what, differences. So there are differences as the counties choose. I've spent some time after the meeting on 18th, meeting with the Vigo County Commissioners. There was a piece in the paper that explains a little bit more of it. And I think the approach they are taking, which is they're going to open it up for public comments, is something that we kind of recognize as an opportunity to hear from people. If there's any constructive critique of the plan, if there's better ideas about how to use the funds, we're certainly willing to be flexible on that. And I think I had the question last time, is this a take it or leave it? And it's not. So we're perfectly willing to work with both counties to see what's in the best interest. I will admit, kind of my own personal bias is I'm a very big fan of representative government. You three are elected by the people of the county, and I respect the fact that it's your decisions. We don't have kind of a pure democracy. So I worked in the federal and state governments, and I have let's say, a little more respect for elected officials than most people, but that's my own bias. What we've got here is a private fund, and I think that's been misunderstood by some that we're using government funds. So that's not accurate. It is a private venture, private company using private funds. So there's not a requirement to have community benefits. If this was a grant by the federal government, there would be certain requirements. And I think that's, one, let's say, misunderstanding I'd like to start off by cleaning up. So we are using private investment, private funds. Now there's loans that have to be paid back, and one of the loans is going to be paid back by the carbon sequestration. So there's no question that the federal government is really encouraging this for the last 3 administrations, both Republican and Democrat. This is something they realize has to happen if we're going to continue our economy, but also, unlike some, there's kind of a sense within the science that we're not going to continue to put CO2 in the atmosphere. So that's for another argument. But today I'll just focus on the community benefits. The first tranche, which comes at the beginning of construction, we're hoping to do that at the end of this year, early next year, would be this first $1 million. $500,000 go to the fire and public health and safety. We're already meeting with the fire departments. We've met with both the ones here and also down in Vigo County. So those are plans.
Which ones have you met with here?
Did you go to the meetings?
Which fire departments?
We met with Chief Wilson yesterday.
Who?
Chief Wilson with Black Diamond.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to take a while to get those plans in place, but it is something that will come at the very beginning. So whether it's assessing what the needs are or having training and equipment, it is true that we're going to manufacture anhydrous ammonia. And every farmer can tell you that it's essential for their corn crop, but it's also got some risks associated. So we're going to manufacture a lot of anhydrous, and it's something that needs to be brought into your planning. So that first $500,000 should come into play hopefully this year if we're successful on our construction plans. The other $500,000 goes into a donor advised fund that'll be established in the Vermilion County Community Foundation. I've got Dale White, who's I've been working with on how they would administer this. The same way in Vigo County, we'll be working with the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. But these are private funds put into a private donor advised fund that will be administered, and all the grants will come through these organizations. This is actually what they do. So remember, these are private funds. They're not really meant to go to government enterprise. So there won't be let's say a police car or something that's purchased with these private funds. This is really for nonprofits that have to go through the community foundation systems, apply for a grant, there's a review, and they have to make the decisions over which ones. So I think the county commissioners may have a voice like you do with all the other grants that come out of these foundations, because you represent the communities where they serve. But the Vermilion County Community Foundation would be the source that we would set up this first year, and then in the next, let's say the next 2 or 3 years, depending on our production, we would have an additional $2 million that sets up a perpetual fund for use within the county. Now there is a piece that we're working on that deals with what's called Justice 40. It targets communities outside of the population areas, so places that had, let's call it the economic issues, so high unemployment, but also environmental problems. So the coal fields of the past have left some, let's say, some environmental issues, and they want some of these funds to be targeted to those communities. So whether it's Universal or the surrounding areas, there's going to be a significant amount, 40% under the Justice 40 theory, that we're going to be focusing on. So again, it's going to be managed by the Community Foundation. You know, frankly, you know, in listening to the comments, you know, the company made the decision that we're not going to make the decisions for the county and the community. So we're not going to say what are the best grants, what are the best things these funds should be used for. That's really left for the elected officials and the people who manage the Community Foundation. So, you know, deciding that the community knows best, the people at the local level and the officials that are elected, they should be the ones to decide what these funds go to. Now, on the traffic and road improvement, I heard it over and over from the residents that they would like those gravel roads paved. So if that's not something that the county's interested in, I mean, it's not a requirement. So those were built by, I guess, the coal companies years ago. So that was just something that we heard from the local community that we put into there. We've got a $5 million not to exceed number in our budget, so we have to plan these things in advance. But that's not necessary. I mean, if the county decides they do not want road improvements, you know, you're free to let us know. The public safety improvement, I mean, I think that's something that you really should take seriously because, again, anhydrous is going to be produced and it's got to be addressed by the fire and safety people. We also, I said this more for the folks in Vigo County, but we have riverfront that we inherited from Duke, and we're committed to do some environmental improvements. A lot of people are focused on that riverfront and bringing people back to the river. So we have our own property along the river, and we hope to really spend some resources. Go ahead.
I used to work there at the plant.
Okay.
Now, does Wabash Valley Resources own the rest of the existing property that?
All except one piece. Yeah, so the question was,
I asked
whether
him,
we own, yeah, all of the property. There is still a Duke portion where they've got some offices. They've got some remediation work with the ash field, so they still have that. The rest of it is either ours in right or we've got options on it. So.
Well, I'll ask a real question. I know when I worked there, the number one turbine was powered or owned by Wabash Valley. Is it the same company that owned that turbine? The number one turbine is the same company that you guys represent?
No, there is a peaker unit for energy, and that's a separate group. I mean, we're glad to have them there.
I just want to make sure.
But that's also owned outside of our little fenced-in area. They use that for peaker production. But I think a couple of other notes I made. It's not the same as Vigo. I mean, the funding is the same, but what you all choose to do with it. And again, we're not required to have I mean, we don't get any credit for providing community benefits, but it's not required. So I hope you understand that it's something that the company felt like they wanted to be a good corporate citizen. You've got some other major players here in the county, and I expect they do something similar, if not more. And in the future, you know, I told this to the Community Foundation. I met with their board in the Wabash Valley Community Foundation, but you know, in 10 years, you can put this in your minutes, but in 10 years, everybody will know about the fertilizer plant because it'll be providing anhydrous to all the farmers. It'll really help with their input costs. So there will be a lot of benefits. But in 10 years, people will say, whatever happened to that other part of the company they were talking about doing something with carbon dioxide? They'll realize that there's no smokestack. That's the only thing that people will recognize. But in 10 years, almost every industry, every power plant, every steel mill, everybody who has huge emissions are not going to be given a permit to put it in the atmosphere. So whether you believe it or not, you're just not going to get an air permit from the EPA. The EPA did give us the permits to put it into these deep injection wells where they're all convinced it won't have any issues that anybody will ever know about, and in 10 years, people will not even know it's there. So we hope that we'll be a good corporate citizen and you'll know we're here, but it'll be a fertilizer plant that supports the communities that we live in. We'll be working with employees from the community. We'll work with the universities, so we'll try to keep people here. These are going to be good paying jobs. We have to compete with the people in the Gulf of Mexico area where they make this, and they're paid $125 or more. So, you know, $125,000, we can't just pay the minimum wage of what the counties expect. We have to compete with other people in this business. So I expect it to be a good community citizen, and I hope you understand that these community benefits are offered as a benefit from a company that would hope to be a good corporate citizen.
I have a question for you. When this was all going on, I approached you, your group, and asked you to come to a public meeting. I thought it was good. I thought that with you all coming in here to Vermillion County, I thought there'd be ought to be a time that you all met with us and met with the public by elected officials. That decision, I had the meeting set up, and 3 days before the meeting was at South Vermillion, you guys canceled it. So I think that that part has been bypassed, in my opinion. I, as a commissioner, don't think that we've had that chance to have that open communication with you all and with our community. And that's the first thing that I would like to see. I think that we need to back up here a little bit and have some more discussion.
Yeah.
I know things are set by law, but it seems like that we as a community had no decision making in this. We are bringing, I consider it waste, carbon dioxide into Vermillion County. There's no great gain for us, I see, as a community. There's no royalty or anything that's has been discussed, and I don't see where the benefit is there as far as a county. I know you say on this here, I can see black and white that you're offering X amount of dollars, but on the other hand, I think that I would appreciate that. I think the thing that you're proposing, number one thing, someone said we acted as if we already made a decision on. No, nobody on this commission has made any decision on nothing. We're very open. You have a right to be here. We want to hear you out. We want to hear everybody else out. But there's been no decision made on that. So I think, in my opinion, and I think each one of these commissioners have a right to address this, but I think we need to back up a little bit here, and I would like to have that meeting. And it was not, I felt it was, in fact, I was at the first meeting they had in Terre Haute where you was there, and I addressed that with the EPA and asked them to come and have a separate meeting at Vermillion County. And the EPA refused that. And I think that the big problem is, in all this, is number one, communications. The EPA refused us, and then when we had the meeting scheduled with you all declined it 3 days before that happened. So what I'm requesting is that we start having some open communication about this, and I would like to see a public meeting come about this thing, or hear about the amount of money you've given us. I think that you're doing what you think is responsible, but I think the people of the community need to have that input. It's not all about commissioners and making decisions, it's also about the people. So my recommendation is if we could have that meeting and have it controlled, and each set some good rules down that everybody has to abide by, and I would like to see that happen first. This stuff about this here needs further discussion, and that's where I stand on this. So anybody else want to chip in on that?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the community benefits thing. I'm not opposed to a meeting either. You know, I think our community needs to be heard. On the community benefits, I think at a minimum, the community needs to review those. Everybody does, whether we put that on the county website or however we do that. I do think we need to solicit comments, whether that's written or in person. I think, you know, in writing is nice just because sometimes if we're not recording the meeting, sometimes it's tough to get all that down. But I think the minimum we need to do that. I've shared the benefits with a few people, but I don't think everyone's had a chance to look at that. And then the other thing is on this, Greg, what if the county just tells you, no, we don't want it? Is that going to stop anything? Or is this just your
Well,
company being nice to say this is...
No, I mean, we can work with the community foundations to produce all this. So we're not really asking for an action step.
Yeah.
I mean, we would love to have your all's input on where these funds should be deployed. I mean, fire and safety, I mean, that's something clearly within the county. If you don't want the roads improved, I'm not sure that we're anxious to spend the money, but you might want to go up and talk to some of those people on the gravel roads. I know not everybody wants them paved, but I heard it pretty specific.
About the dump, not about the.
Yeah. So no, it's not required, and if you all choose not to do anything, we can still provide community benefits the best we can.
That's not what you have.
No.
Don't want to dump at all.
We're not
And I
in that comment from Craig.
I kind of appreciate that. The other part I would, this idea of having legitimate questions raised about the facility. We have a frequently asked question page on our website. We've not had a single update because there hasn't been a new question raised since last August. That was the last time we had to adjust anything. If there are questions that are legitimate questions, put them in writing and we'd be glad to answer. But having a public meeting where people just come back and say, we don't want you to build your plant. I mean, the plant's built. I'm sorry, we took over a plant that was going to be demolished and all the jobs had been lost and we were going to do something positive. So, but that's a private company that's doing this. And again, I'm a big fan of it. This was kind of my suggestion that we work with the county officials because I'm a fan of elected governance. I've spent most of my career in government, and I'm maybe the last one standing that still believes in representative government and trusts the people to make the best decisions for the communities.
Hey,
Wait,
we never said.
wait. There's no cross questioning here today. You'll have your time to speak.
You're taking that plan over and redoing it.
Sir, we're not entertaining that this morning. Sir.
Getting all the trash that comes to this county.
Well, you have time to speak later. Please reserve it.
So Greg, if we are available, or if we are able to, do this community input with this benefits plan, if someone in the community says, hey, we think Wabash Valley should give us $10 million instead of $5 million, I mean, are these things we can suggest on, if we even entertain the benefits package? We may all just say no, but I mean...
Well, I think, in our budget, we have to plan what we're going to be able to offer. Now, by the time this is an operating fertilizer plant and they're making, let's say, a significant profit on the material, that's a whole different discussion about continuing to put funds, whether it's into the community foundation or the community wants it done a different way. I think those decisions, like was mentioned earlier, we've got till 2027 before we're actually operating. So there's time to discuss these things. Nothing's going to happen. We'll be building construction, but also we have to order all this equipment. To make anhydrous ammonia is not a simple process. So it's going to take us a few years, and we're not going anywhere. We'll be here to answer any questions.
Well, my last one, just to follow up on that, Greg, was you mentioned fire departments. I think safety is a big thing.
Yeah.
Is this fire departments that you guys are going to work with, is that going to be, I've seen it in the benefits package of like $500,000, but is that going to be enough for a department? I mean, because I know a fire department apparatus is, Brendan could answer this more than me, $500,000, $1 million, you know what I mean? That stuff's expensive.
Well, I think by the time, we do training and an assessment, if we see that there's more needed, but we had to have something in our budget.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is, let's say, the original offer that we've already got planned. But like I said, it's not until 2027 until anything really happens.
Okay. Great. That's all I have.
Unless we're going to make, unless there's a motion that's going to be made today about the signing of this community, the CBA, Community Benefits Agreement. I do have a number of questions, but if we're still working forward with public comments and so forth, I think I'll reserve those until we have all input. All we had talked about before was 2 weeks ago was having a public meeting. I think you've been working on getting a date and a poster together and to advertise this public comment period, or town hall, whatever it's going to be, whether it's one or more, to solicit additional input from the communities. I'll reserve these. I don't think it's worth the discussion on this at this point, if we're going to do that. Now, if there's a motion to approve this, and I do have comments on the agreement itself, if there's going to be a motion to...
I'll make a motion to table it.
Okay. Then I will probably reserve my comments until we have all the input then from everybody. It's not worth going through at this point, for me anyway.
Like I said, going back to the square one, I think we need to go back to square one. The request I made for you guys to have a public meeting to discuss this is, I'm not in favor of it. I mean, I just don't see where the benefit to the county. I mean, sure, there is some benefit, but I have a problem with that, and I have a problem with the way it was done is not proper way it was done from the beginning. I think this is something that's been, the counties was not given proper time. I think even if we have an issue, I think that we've given up our rights as a county to represent issues within our county. Is that correct? If we have a problem, we have to take it to Vigo County Court, even though it's in Vermilion County. Is that correct?
Well, we're residents of Vigo County, but if there's a complaint that's registered of something that happens in Vermilion County, which I don't think you're going to see, but you would have a cause of action if there was something that happened here. But the plant is in Vigo, and that's...
Yeah, but I'm saying that we've given up our representation as a county on property that we actually have in the county.
Well, we didn't do that. This is part of the legislation.
I know, but...
so it's a misnomer to say that the county gave up any type of rights.
Well, it's taken away, be properly addressed. So...
Well, I testified in front of, the legislature, and the argument I made that I'm happy to repeat is that there was no clear path of who owns pore space. There's 5 states where no one does. It's the same as if we put it up in the smokestack. It goes over your farm. You don't get paid. So there's 5 states where they've gone to court about pore space, and each one of them comes down with there are no property owner rights. So the reason we did that was because we wanted a clear path to show who owns this. It's not the people who have mineral rights. It's not, so we needed a clear understanding of who we should pay, and then we worked with the Farm Bureau on how much is a fair beginning. There was nothing as a pilot that we had to go on, so we had to ask for a clear path, a legal path to do what we're doing. And everybody else can watch, and maybe they say we paid too much, maybe we paid too little. That'll be left for the legislature in the future. So the fact that we're going to have to continue to be monitored is something that the legislature is going to do, the EPA is going to do, the Department of Energy is going to do. So we'll have plenty of people looking over our shoulder, and we're proud to show the benefits of this process that we're doing.
Could we schedule a public meeting and we could sit down and discuss the rules and where it would be?
If you all can send me any legitimate question about the science behind this or about the community benefits, I'd like an opportunity to respond in writing before I come and meet everybody that says we don't want you to do.
We can have a legitimate intellectual discussion about this.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't had one.
Okay.
And we're happy to bring the EPA back.
Well, that's like I said, out of respect, when I was there, I addressed it with the EPA, and they said they wouldn't come. When I was in Washington, I tried to address it. I still didn't get anywhere with them. So I think it's just pure respect to our county that process is honored.
You
And
know-
I understand you asked, because
Yeah.
we want it to be orderly, we want it to be constructive, and it has to be done proper. So that's what I'm requesting. I don't know if you have contacts in EPA. Like I said, I've contacted them, and I think they owe us as a county to at least come and represent their cause and be there for the people.
Well, I've followed the process. We were the first ones with the EPA permit. So they sent 3 geologists who walked away feeling like people don't believe the science. And we were scientists, and they didn't believe it. So they don't trust the government. They don't believe science. It's pretty hard to argue that case. So
We can argue.
if you can-
No comments from the public. You have your right to speak a little
But
bit.
if you can guarantee that a public meeting would not end up with the kind of emotional
I understand.
kind of arguments.
Understand.
But I would first like, before we have a public meeting or we try to offer that, I would like some questions to be raised.
That's fine.
That haven't been asked and answered. When I come to court, if somebody asks the same question again or wants to make the same point, I say, Your Honor, it's been asked and answered. So I want new questions that focus on substance and not emotion.
Okay.
This is a business that we're trying to run, and I would like a business of respect to come in and say, here are the legitimate questions, and we want answers. We're happy to do that.
Well, I agree to that premise, and I'd
right.
oversee that to make sure that's done, as long as you're in agreement of doing that.
You ask new questions, and we will produce whatever you need, whether it's public comment in writing or a meeting to discuss it.
Okay.
You
Can
need
that be done in 30
scientists to
days,
come.
you think?
No, I want the questions raised first.
Okay.
So look at our frequently asked questions, because they're all in there. Nothing new since August. If you've got a legitimate question, raise it first, and we'll discuss whether we have a meeting to do it or whether we just respond in writing.
So you're not in favor of having a public meeting because you think the same things you...
Absolutely. Asked and answered. Asked and answered.
But Vermillion County never had that chance to do that.
Well, everything that was brought up today is on our frequently asked questions. Seismicity,
I've got a question.
No speaking from the crowd. You can speak in a little bit.
But you didn't believe in global
You can't speak from the crowd, please.
warming?
Order.
So,
You have 3 minutes to talk here in a little bit. So anybody else have any questions or comments?
I would just, on the community benefits, I would like to garner community feedback as soon as possible, whether they're in favor, they don't like it, whatever the case may be, I would like community feedback as soon as possible, so I would like some permission from the commissioners today to work with. I've been sending Brendan and Kylie some templates and stuff to get out on social media, emails, and all those things will be put in writing to us. Then we can work on a date if we want to do a public hearing. But at the minimum, I'd like to get that out as soon as possible. Let everyone review those. Greg, I don't know how many documents it is, 7 pages, 10 pages on the community benefit thing. But let everyone read that and provide us, because we are represented by government, and I do want to hear your comments and your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. So if the commissioners would approve that, I'd like to work with them to get that out today.
I thought we were already working on that.
Well, I've got it
I
ready,
haven't
but
seen anything you sent, RJ.
What's that?
I haven't seen anything you sent. So
I think I've.
Yeah, you sent it.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but it was actually.
But it's a basic
Friday.
flyer that basically, I don't have it with me, but more or less it says we want your feedback. There's a QR code on it and the county website. You click on it, it'll go to the county website, and it'll have all the documents that WVR has proposed. They'll be on there for you to review. Not yet, but that's the intent is to put that on there where you can review them, and then there will be an email address where you can solicit all your comments, feedback to the county. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
33, I mean, that's how
if I
many
may,
people are watching.
These are two different things that we're talking about. So the meeting that with RJ, or the one that he's putting together as far as the flyer goes and requests, we are requesting those to be put in writing to us as to any, with the community benefits agreement. That is totally separate from what Commissioner Yoakum's talking about. Let's try to make that distinction there. This is for that agreement as if we were to have any type of community benefit agreement that the commissioners are going to act on at all, whether we do or don't. We need that input. Not that you don't want it, that you do want it, whatever it might be. It's just with that. With Commissioner Yoakum, with a town hall or meeting, whatever it may be, then it's addressing the other concerns. So make sure there's a discern difference there. Otherwise, it's going to get cloudy and we won't have necessarily a clear picture of either one. So I'd appreciate it if you would restrict those comments to the agreement, and you can say I don't sign it, that's fine, but it'd be nice to know if it does happen, what are those parameters that you would like to see in an agreement if it would happen. So.
Well, and like that, I mean, like Britton said, I mean, it says on their money for roads. If it would happen and we would sign it, do you want money for roads? Would you rather have it for parks? Would you rather have it for this? Like, give us things you would like if we would sign it. But if not, we would like to have your comments one way or the other. That way, just like when we done solar ordinances or wind ordinances, we wanted your feedback. So.
Okay. There was a motion to table earlier.
Yeah, I seconded it. It was for the community benefits. That way they'd know there was no action taken today.
If you want to move forward, that's fine with me.
Until we have our community input, I've already said if we don't have our community input, I'm not ready to move forward.
Totally in favor of community input. Has to be, or I'm not in favor of anything.
All right.
So I'm in agreement.
Yep. So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. If I could ask for one more favor, since Dale came to talk a little about the community benefits that they already provide, if he could get his 3 minutes as part of the comments. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
So, a lot of people don't know me. My name's Dale White. I'm the CEO of the Western Indiana Community Foundation. And so we serve Fountain County, and we serve Fountain County and Vermilion County. And locally in Vermilion County, we operate as the Vermilion County Community Foundation. So I know many of you have been supporters of the Community Foundation. You get our newsletter, you get our social media feeds and things of that nature. And so I either watch these meetings online or I come to the meetings. And so I saw the June 18th meeting, and that was my first understanding about the Community Benefits Agreement. And I think in the first draft it mentioned Wabash Valley Resources and the relationship with the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. And so since I felt that Vermilion County had a stake in this, I reached out to Wabash Valley Resources and met with 3 of them last week to say, could an agreement be with, you have one agreement with Vigo County and have another agreement with the Vermilion County Community Foundation. And so we chatted about that. But what our community foundation does is we raise private donations from the public. All private donations, typically no public money, it's private donations. Last year, between our 2 counties, we raised about $2.4 million. We had 700 donors. We manage $40 million in assets that serve Fountain County and serves Vermilion County. We're primarily a grant-making organization, so we take that $40 million, we invest it, and then we use a portion of those earnings to make grants for community projects, or we use it to award scholarships to students in Vermilion County or Fountain County. So Vermilion County money stays in Vermilion County, Fountain County money stays in Fountain County. And so my only thinking when I met with Wabash Valley was that if the commissioners did not want to be involved in the grant-making process, if this did go forward, the Community Foundation has no position on this project. Like I said, we've 700 donors last year. I don't know where all the donors get their money. I don't know where that comes from. But in this project, we felt that if they did not want to be the grant-making organization that the Community Foundation, because we do award grants and scholarships, our board may consider being that entity who would determine where the grants went in Universal or in Vermilion County. We do grants two ways. One way is, say the town of Universal applied for a grant, then our board of directors, 8 board members throughout Vermilion County, would determine whether to award that a grant. Or we also do proactive grant making. If we see a need in the community that's not being addressed, then we might just be proactively awarding a grant for those community projects. And so we're just here to assist the commissioners if they feel that the Community Foundation can play a role. If somebody wants to donate, then we want to be at the table to talk about that. If we're not the right ones to receive the donation, or if the donation doesn't even happen, that's fine too. We just didn't want any donations to go to the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. We'd prefer to stay in Vermilion County if we can keep it here. So that's kind of how the Community Foundation is involved, and we'd love to be a part of any community discussions and things of that nature. But again, we don't have an official stance on the project. We just want to be a good steward of all the money that's donated through the Community Foundation and make the best good with it when grant applications come across our plate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Very clear. We're moving on. Mark Usselman is on here, a concerned citizen. Your remainder of your time, sir.
There's
Wait.
a lot of things said. And I can't blame this gentleman here. He was sent here to try to get this moved through. But let me tell you something. I was good friends, because I worked with him, Frank Pitskatis, when he was commissioner. When Peabody left, the only thing the county got was $500,000 to take care of the roads. And if you guys look back, you went in the hole. County didn't have a road grader big enough to rework the roads. So that's why they're in the shape they're in today. And I think the county's done a good job getting them back. I know that's a lot of money that they're presenting. And I want to make clear there's nobody of the concerned citizens are against making anhydrous, making a fuel cell. There was so much research done by a couple ladies in our, well, 3 ladies in our group for sure. And this is going to be a nationwide project. If this goes and they can dump their product, this is really going to be a big deal. It's not going to be just a well in the ground. And my concern is, have any of you guys, commissioners, been through an earthquake? The last one you probably had right here in this county. How would you like to have them weekly? You take all the money that you scraped and saved, went to the bank and borrowed money, and you've got a pretty nice place. How would you like the pictures on your wall to shake off? And that's what this, according to Google, if you get on Google and go through, some of the guys back here went a little deeper. This is an ongoing occurrence that's going to happen. Now, that's one reason I don't want it. Plus, we've had some information about wherever the well is, it regurgitates. It's got acid reflux, so up it comes. There is no guarantee this works. Now, I told you guys the reason for this meeting, and you got a lot of things to think about. Like my mom used to say, don't let your nose get in the way to where it gets cut off. This looks like pretty substantial. But parks and riverfront recreation, $500,000 to the fire departments, that might be way low, like Commissioner Donovan said. And maybe this might be the livelihood of our section of our county right here if there's ever an accident. It's not going to change our county. It's not going to change the way people live. They're going to live the same way. But what I didn't like about this whole procedure, I went to several meetings with you, Commissioner. You just threw your hands up and said, I don't know nothing about it. Remember the meeting at Clinton with you? You sat right there. You sat right beside me. This is the first I've heard of it. So somebody in the line this come down from the governor must have thought he was a general somewhere and he just did what he wanted and let people out. It's your responsibility. Every one of you. And you've got your own feelings. But the people elected you in. And the people have a right to say, Commissioners, we don't want this. Did any of you guys go to West Terre Haute to the school, the first turnout? There wasn't much. Oh, there was a few hotheads, but that's not what I spouted off right there about. There was something on my mind that I said, I got to clarify it before I forget it. You can make things look good on the presentation, and on the very end, it could be something to eat the rear of your pants off. I talk plain. I mean, I don't know any other way of talking. I didn't go to college to be a speech presenter. But your people have a lot of worries. They don't care about taking this plan over. I bet if you had a vote in this county right now, the vote would not increase much from what you saw the vote in our last election. That's just the way things run here. If you do an income survey, you'd be lucky to get enough to compare. Nobody will fill them out. That's the way this county looks at things. This is something here real important. Real important. And I will say this, I hope, this is speaking for myself, I hope we didn't get it out of line. I've never done this before. I've never been in front of you guys before. But this is serious. And if you table this today, then we know you're going to make a decision one way or the other. Is that right? What's your position? Yoakum says no. Is your position open?
I think, as we stated earlier, you know, I want to hear from the community feedback on this community benefits plan, on this plan. I mean, I'm not going to say one way or the other right now because I'm a representation
No,
of the people.
I don't want you to, but we have to know. It would be foolish to go against the commissioner of this county if you decide for it. They can make their anhydrous ammonia. Truck it away somewhere else. Don't truck it in Vermilion County. You know, the last 30 years we dealt with a coal mine, and finally Peabody left. That coal mine, I'm not so sure, wasn't owned by Synergy Corporation, our electric producer. I worked for for public service and synergy. I knew the man they had from Universal buying the coal. They went to him if the coal had a little sulfur in it.
Mark, you got about 2 minutes. I'm just going to move on.
But the people here did it for the good of the community when Peabody come in. And Peabody was a good neighbor. But when you start blasting and all that, you get the tremors, your basement walls crack, and I don't want to go through that again. And I'm not saying it's going to be that way, but a tremor is a tremor. Just according to what it travels through when it gets to your property.
You got any closing comments on that? Or
Closing comment?
Yeah.
I think I've said it. Right now, make sure you make the right decision. Don't cut your nose off. Just bite your face.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any announcements? Open issues?
Unrelated to this, DNR says they are moving the public access site through the channels of the state to get that approved, and then they'll start working on a timeline to do that public access site up by the Big Vermilion River. So,
Is it scheduled for next year?
well, I can't get DNR to commit to that until they, I guess, like the Attorney General's office has got to sign and DNR's got to sign. There's like 4 or 5 people that have to sign that. But
Sure.
but after that gets done, he said he would send us a timeline of construction and stuff. So.
We're also still working on the
So there's a public access site up by the Big Vermilion River in Eugene. The county owned an acre, 2 acres, and DNR had wanted to put in a public access site, and the county had worked out an agreement with them, and now it's going through the channels of them actually taking ownership of it, and they're willing to invest, I think, I'm going to paraphrase here, $50,000, I think, to make the site a much better site than what it is. But we don't have a timeline yet until they get it taken care of, and like all things, it seems like the state moves slow on some things. So
I'd like them to consider Clinton public access too, so you might talk to them about it.
I did. I asked them if they would update the boat ramp in Clinton. You know, I've been down there, and I think it was installed. And they even admit that I think it was done wrong a few years ago. So.
Yeah, that's a big problem, Clinton.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Britain, open issues?
I did.
Okay.
Wow, that escaped me.
I will say that the possibility of the culvert or the tunnel underneath 63 is still being investigated on 163. I think that there's a tremendous advantage there. It's going to take a lot of planning. I would like to see, and I don't know if that's going to work out or not, because we're trying to get funding through Community Crossing Grant and different things. To the state said it was going to be $400,000 to $500,000 of investment they need to keep that tunnel open. Britt has talked about making a county road. We got some different things. Look at maybe trying to find funding for it. But I would like to see it. I think it'd make Cayuga a real special, attractive place to be able to walk to the river from the park and be able to go underneath 63, ride your bike back and forth. I think that there is an access site on the east side of Wabash up there, but I think the state would probably be very interested in discussing a place on the west side. And so I think that I'm working on that. I think it's a great community. I most time in trails, I'm involved with the trail system, Vermilion Trails Association, when they even started, when we started that. And it's always an issue with trails is going through someone's property and behind their house and stuff like that. It's always an issue, which I think is a concern. But the property on the east side of the 63 to the bridge, to the river, there's no houses, and it's just agricultural and older property. So I'm working on that. I can't say it's going to be a success, but I think it has possibilities. And I think it'd make a great addition to Cayuga Park and the town of Cayuga. So I'm working on that.
I'll chime in on that too. We had a town hall concerning the tunnel there underneath where the railroad is there at Cayuga, or was. We did not receive much community input on that, or positive or negative, regardless. It was not well attended. I think we had maybe 20 people plus or
Yeah, I'd
minus
say 20.
at the town hall that we had, and I've not received a single email or mail or of any sort, favor or not in favor of this project. This is to look forward to long-term issue. If we're going to have a trail up there, this is a good opportunity for us to do that. But it's a almost $500,000, just under $500,000 investment, of which it'll take time to actually create, even after the tunnel's placed. This is going to happen next year, or it's not going to happen next year. So either it gets filled in and we do not have a legitimate access across 63, or we can put this in. We are trying to get this to possibly meet within the community crossing grants with the application. We're looking at that at this time, July 1st it opened. We've not got a pure determination from NDOT that this will qualify for that type of funding. If it doesn't, then without community support, this may not go much further than that. So I hope everyone is looking at this for the long term, not something that's just for the next few years here, something that this tunnel would last 75 to 100 years plus. We still have a negotiation to do with NDOT if we get to that point, as far as maintenance and so forth, that I'm still concerned about. But we need more than just a handful of people wanting to access this. Vermilion Trails Alliance has looked at it. It isn't in their immediate future as to what they have planned so far as their funding and what trails that they're going to do. It is on their radar. It just wasn't immediate. So this is an immediate need now, or immediate decision here, if you want to call it. Within the next year, that decision will, well, actually sooner than that. The next 6 months, that decision will be made, and then it'll be set in concrete, if you will.
But we're going to work on it. Hopefully it has some positive outcome. Next is public comment. If you have public comment, this is the closing part. You have 3 minutes. Please recognize the timer and respect others too.
Hi, my name is Susan Strokos again. I just kind of wanted to follow up. First of all, we did not say that those were public funds given to the community foundations, and I do agree that Vigo County is in one and you are in another one. That was one of my big questions when they handed it to. People should be in control of their own destiny. We are not saying that those funds are public funds. We know they're private funds from this company. Our point is the government funding. It is the government funding that requires a community benefits package. It involves us, the impacted community, being involved and having a say. I want to make that clear. I understand the whole funding is private, what you're giving to the community foundation. Secondly, he keeps saying ask and answered, ask and answered. And I know they have their experts, and I know that they must believe they're experts. I am saying the USGS, to me, is an expert. They differ from your experts. So when you say ask and answer, that is not fair, because again, you don't want to answer those questions because you feel you have answered them based on your experts. One more thing is, in these community agreements, as is in the easements, they use the language assign. Assign. They can assign. And they said it in the Vigo County one, I just read it late last night, that they can assign this to somebody else, which means and indicates that this might be sold to somebody else, but then they still get the benefits of all the road stuff that goes on. And they actually, if you read the Vigo County ones, they actually can take control basically of the roads, driveways. They don't have to go get permits. It's giving them full control of things, and they can resign. My question is, they have recently, not recently, but they have set up a company, and it is called Wabash Pipeline Services. The question big is, that company is currently not being used for anything. It's another LLC. It's not a branch off of Wabash Valley Resources. So when they get these easements, or if they take it back through eminent domain, and they decide to assign these easements to somebody else, where does the liability protection come from? Wabash Carbon Services had to put up $30 million for the EPA for their wells, which kind of included the pipeline thing. So that money, okay, it's there. Wabash Valley Resources has assets. Wabash Pipeline Services has nothing. If they would reassign that, if there was a rupture, where's our recourse? Who would we sue? And if we sued, they have nothing. Those are my questions. One last thing with the EPA, we did get a FOIA request and we did get conversations back and forth. We were limited with what we got. I think there was a total of 40 emails over the past, since 2018 from the company and the EPA. There's a lot of conversations that went on. One of my things that I was surprised about was Mr. Gupta, who was the one that said, if we don't want this, you won't have it. He asked, can we inject twice the amount in half the time? There's no long-term commitment from this company. Those are not full-time jobs. They're basically coming here to get their money and leave. The $85 credit can be sold on the market for $1,500. That's where they're making. They're making CO2.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Susan, I do have one question, if you don't mind. I may just be dumbfounded. What does USGS stand for?
It's the U.S. It's a geological research, the government funds. And
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
they monitor.
I thought so, but I just want to clarify.
But
that.
they are limited in funding, and that's basically, you know, they don't have the funding. The company over at ADM actually was the one that brought them on, and they are independent.
So would
They
you be
work
able-
for our they are
Yeah.
a government agency. They work for our government. I don't understand why they would not even suggest, and that to me is a community benefit, is protection.
Yeah, could you provide me with whatever documents from the USGS that you've been speaking on today about?
Yes, right here. It's an email.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Not trying to be rude on the timer, but we have to have some type of control here.
Clete Sanguinetti, Vermillion County resident. So I have a couple things to talk about on the community benefits agreement. On the first whereas, it states that WVR is building an ammonia manufacturing facility which is accompanying carbon dioxide injection wells. So it says wells. It didn't say well, it says wells. So you got to watch them because they like to put this stuff in there. To be located in Vermillion County. So does that open the door for them to add as many as they'd like? Who knows? The next thing is page 2, subtitle 4, Workforce Engagement and Training. It says in there that they'll collaborate with commissioners to identify former coal community workers.
There's none left.
There's none left, so try again. The page 1, subtitle 2, Training and Equipment First Responders. So why do we need training and equipment for first responders if this stuff is so safe? Maybe we need electric fire trucks because our current ones won't run in a CO2 plume. Okay, have they had an environmental impact study yet? They were supposed to with the EPA permit, and I've never seen anything on that. So that's a question that's been asked numerous times and it's never had an answer, because I've asked it myself multiple. I think VWR should provide Vermillion County Commissioners with Vigo County's plan to compare apples to lemons. Ammonia, hydrogen, or are they just here to produce carbon? And out of the people who would like the roads repaved or paved, all these appears to be the residents around the well and the pipelines, maybe cause some kind of agreement to appease them because of the gravel. Can the county send letters to everyone in the county for the meetings on public comment? It was Purdue who VWR determined the amount of compensation, not Farm Bureau. So Purdue University did that. One thing for you, Greg, I'm trying to live a life. I know you guys are trying to run a business, but I've been out there a lot longer than you guys have. And I'm trying to run a life and live a life, and I don't want you guys slowing me down. Will the county tax the well and every metric ton that goes into the earth? So there's a way the county can make money. You tax every metric ton that goes into the earth, and you put a tax on that well. So if that piece of equipment is worth $5 million, or that well is worth $5 million, you tax that piece of equipment and you don't give them no tax evasion. That's all I got.
You had questions and they said they'd answer. Is there any way you can send those questions and we'll bring forward to Greg?
I've got pages and I've asked questions.
Well,
and
you send them to me, I'll make sure you get answers.
Yeah, and I've never had a legitimate answer. They chase their tails. You have to watch in here because they like to put S's and stuff on words, so that makes multiples. I spoke with these two guys here before the meeting. I was asking questions about compensation. I told them that I hadn't been contacted or know anyone that has. So I don't know what kind of operation they're running, but it's not right. I know there's a lot of lies, and Greg, I hate to be mean, but you stutter a little bit when you lie.
Any questions you have, Greg said he would address them to me, and I'll make sure they get answered. That's a minimum thing I can do. I think we've got to have that. Anybody else? We're going to close this meeting. 3 minutes.
Well, before we close it, I got somebody coming up. Never mind.
Wade Biggs, I live right in between it all. Everybody was talking about how, you know, the coal mines and everything are in this area. I currently have maps that you guys can have that shows the location of all the coal mines in Vermilion County. These are the underground mines. Now, they did use a lot of blasting stuff during that, and I've also got the ones for Vigo County of the underground coal mines there. Now, when you're blasting a lot of stuff, you do have quakes that go down into the ground, and that creates microfractures. Well, when that happens, it does get into some of the aquifers that are in our area. And I know the one up by Universal is kind of out on a peninsula, and there's bedrock in one area, there's shell in other parts of the area. Now that's just on the aquifers alone. Now you're talking about the roads. Okay, strip mining, I know up in Universal there is springs that wash out the roads, create pits and everything. This is the area on which Peabody stripped there. And if you look at this map, this is how far it went down on Vigo County. This is also information about some of the aquifers inside the state of Indiana in this area. So, I mean, before you consider, you know, going with their experts, you need to have independent experts weigh in on that. Somebody that's not connected with them, not connected with us. And we can find out more of the truth when that happens. But it's a big danger. My grandpa was a coal miner in this area, and he's been gone for 25 years. And he talked about how dangerous these mines are. And one of them is actually on the site on which Destech is built, which is where their plant is. I was a first responder to Destech. The only thing we ever got was an air monitoring system from them. A fire truck will cost $500,000, and that's just the truck itself. That is not the equipment that goes on the truck. That is not the training for the personnel. In the way the state has done the training lately, it makes it harder to do the training. It costs a lot of money to get that training in. So you're talking at least several $1 million to equip one fire department to handle a situation like this. It is a major hazardous material spill. So, that's all I have to say about that. Any questions?
A lot of information here.
Hey, I didn't bring it in black and white. I brought a collar for you.
I'd like to have copies of that for my personal stuff. It's pretty
All right.
neat,
Yeah.
just some information to pass.
Thank you.
You made mention to DesTech, or did, sir?
Yes.
You made mention to did you say DesTech, the responder?
I did the fire emergency and rescue response on DesTech, and that is actually where their plant is. That's the actual coal gasification plant. And the only thing we ever got was an air monitor and a little bit of training. That was it. And I mean, syngas that plant was producing at the time was some nasty stuff.
I worked at the plant over the hill,
Mhm.
and that the moment something happened, it was a bad day.
It was a bad day, and there was a few
Bad day.
lives lost.
Thank you for your comments.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Back to my agenda. Anybody else? We're getting ready to close this meeting. 3 minutes, and just trying to keep some order and let you all have your voice. I do hope you all realize that we're giving you all your voice to right to.
My name's
to
Mike
voice your
Kelly, and I
concern.
live in Clinton. And he said that some of the questions have been asked and answered. Well, one of the questions that keeps getting asked is, who's going to protect who's liable?
Okay.
And I would like for the aquifer, I'm referring to the aquifer, and most chemical companies, or all the chemical companies I've worked in, have their own responders because the fire department is for fires. Now, I'm not saying they can't be trained and do the stuff, but the chemicals, the companies didn't want people in because they knew what they had, where they had it, and they knew how to deal with it. Those were the people that worked inside the plant all the time. So I'm wondering why this seems to be handed off to the outside fire departments, and I assume the liability would go with them too then, right? What I'd like to see is if it is responsible, if they are responsible, I would like to have that in writing at the end of their deal you make, if you make a deal, that they're responsible for the destruction of the aquifers, and the company and investors would be liable.
Can I just
And
want to make
that
sure.
way they think about it.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone's here. If you have a question, address it to me, and Greg has agreed that they will address it, and that's the minimal thing I can do right now. You need to have a flow of communication, so, and I will receive that and make sure you guys do get the answers to what you are requesting.
Well, Mike, you made, I think, a good point, too. You know, if there's anything like that you'd like to include in this community benefit package when you review it, put that in writing, because, that's a suggestion of, I know some of these plants, you're right, they have their own fire departments on staff. They have them in-house. So maybe that's a suggestion that's put in writing that says maybe WVR has a fire department, or something like that.
Yeah, especially chemical plants,
Yeah.
because I worked in chemical plants all my life. So.
And I hadn't even thought about that until you just brought that up. So I
Yeah,
think that's
it's a
what
big liability.
part of this community, input will do, is bring some good suggestions and ideas to the forefront.
It just looked like to me when you hand off you're going to give them money to the fire departments and train them and everything. Wait a minute. The company that's producing this waste is responsible, should be totally responsible for this.
So get the question to me, and I'll make sure it gets answered.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else in closing? Thank you for participating and keeping your order. I appreciate that.
Hello, gentlemen. Nancy Roberts, Vermilion County resident. Commissioner Donovan, did you realize that your question was not answered? When you asked him if you voted no, would it keep it out of Vermilion County? He did not answer that question. My next comment I'd like to make is when you send out the community benefits packet, make sure that people realize that are not aware of what's going on with the CO2, that this packet, where somebody's offering this county $5 million over 2 or 3 years, is attached to this. If you want this packet, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, and I think in the flyer, we put on there Wabash Valley Resources, so hopefully
people a lot of
I mean-
people don't understand Wabash Valley Resources and what
I
it
can
means.
amend the flyer, then I mean, we can write something with it, but I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, we want to make sure they know where it's coming from. This
Right.
isn't just a company out of Arizona coming in and offering $5 million. This is tied
Right.
with the carbon sequestration project. So, and I know somebody brought up, sending mailers to everybody. I don't know if they count. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that either, but I think in the short term, just getting it out on social media, because that seems to be the quickest realm of anything. Email, text, it seems like everyone's got a phone on them, So I'm eager to see the community feedback on that proposed plan, so.
And I guess the other two things I want to say, and I know it was brought up earlier, but at the meeting at the union last year, Mr. Gupta said, if you do not want this in your county, we won't do it. And we were very clear that we did not want it, and 3,000 people have signed to say we do not want this. And then the other question is, they were asked directly, will you use eminent domain? And they answered yes. After they hem-hawed around about it, they did say yes. So we have rights. We need to be able to keep our rights and our ground and not let this happen. He's right when it says wells. This is just the beginning. They won't stop with one well if that's passed through.
Appreciate your comments. Anybody else in closing?
My name's Donald Bohannon. I live in Universal. And Susan said that they want to put it in half the time. And then I just want to know if it's really about oil. Why would you want to do it in half the time? I think they want to push all the oil up out there that they x-rayed for 3 years ago, and then stick a bunch of wells out there with their eminent domain. And then, and that's about all I got. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, appreciate your comment. Anybody else? We're
Thank
just
you.
about done. Anybody else?
I'll make one final comment, or
Sure.
maybe it's not a final comment, but comment anyway. We're hearing mostly from people in the southern part of, around Universal, basically, southern part of the county. A basis for any agreement that happens now has the potential of being a basis for the rest of the county also, or at least it'll be recognized. There are other pipelines or other proposals that in concept or further along for the rest of the county also. So it'd be nice to also hear from middle county, northern part of the county, other than just Universal concerning this, if there's input anyway. But like I said, there's other projects, quite a few projects that are coming in, and the whole county falls within this zone of potential use for sequestering activities, whether it's CO2 or something else for that matter. So I'd like for everyone to be thinking about this and maybe having additional input, because everybody's going to be affected at some point in time here as we go forward. That's all.
I'm John Graves. I'm in the northern part of the county.
Well, we're going to hear from you already. Wow. Talk about getting something done here.
I have seen maps of the pipelines. I've seen warnings of ruptured pipelines and the effects of ruptured pipelines. My lack of talking about this has been because these guys have done a great job of trying to prevent the well from starting to begin with. If we have no well, we have no pipeline. So I commend you guys for keeping it up, and I'm with you. But I don't want the pipelines to come under my property, and that's where they're coming. I've already seen the map. And when you live right on 63, you know you're going to be part of the problem. So we don't want the pipelines up north either. And the aquifer, if the CO2 gets into the aquifer and it damages the aquifer, it's going to have a lasting effect not on southern Vermilion, northern Vigo County. It's going to compromise the water system of about 3 states. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, I think we are about to close of this meeting. I think everyone who here has had their chance to voice their concerns, which I think is very important. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you, I think that you as an American citizen have a right to state your position. And I think we as county commissioners today have respected your right, and thank you for trying to stay within the time, and these things will be taken into consideration. Any questions you have with Wabash Valley? I've got a few more since today hearing things. I think that I will be that person that you send to me. I will share it with the other commissioners. I will send to Greg. Greg has agreed in this public meeting to answer those questions, and we will get answers for you that you need. So, any other closing comments, because we are ending this long meeting? Thank you all for being very tolerant. I think we've all been very respectful, and I appreciate your actions today, presenting your cases. So, any other further information? If not,
Before I make a motion to adjourn, just to follow up again, we will get that thing set up here in the next day or so with Kylie and Brenda's help on getting community feedback on the benefit package. So be on the lookout for that. Me, Tim, whoever will get that on social media, we'll do our best to get as many comments as we can and share it with your friends, family, whoever, so we can listen to your concerns, feedback. But with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
any more discussion?